the address, and thereafter you will call upon President Edith Nawakwi to also address you. Chair.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the 6th Republican President, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the Deputy Chair of the United Kwacha Alliance, President Kateka, fellow presidents in UKA, other UKA leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and the press. Good morning to you all. The last few weeks have provided a test on how prepared the United Kwacha Alliance, UKA, is to face stormy weather. A number of our leaders have found themselves attacking others or the alliance in the media. This has naturally created a frenzy amongst the media. There is an absolute media frenzy out there. Those wishing to see UKA fail have managed to get even some of our supporters to lose sight of the main objectives of UKA. Only those that wish to see UKA fail are happy with what we see going on. Let us remind ourselves as to what UKA stands for and is working to achieve. It is now actually 7 months since the formation of the United Kwacha Alliance. You will recall that UKA was formed as a result of the loud and clear demand by the people of Zambia that the opposition political parties needed to come together and provide an alternative to the failing UPND government. The Zambian people have a general sense of disillusionment with the politics, economics, and governance of our nation, leaving them with a feeling of disappointment resulting from the discovery that things are not as good as they believed they would be. The problems and challenges Zambia faces require all well-meaning people to work together. No one person or group have the monopoly of knowledge, and we must all be very clear on that. It would be wrong and deceitful for us to claim any one of us can on their own correct or mend the problems the country faces. We are convinced that the first step towards changing the mood from gloom to contentment and resolving our nation's problems is to have all well-meaning people to acknowledge that we have problems that need to be resolved. The Zambian people, as a result, made the demand for selflessness amongst opposition leaders and their parties. It is the people of Zambia who are the originators of the concept of the United Kwacha Alliance. It is the people who demanded that they be a formation such as this one. The parties represented in the United Kwacha Alliance and whom you can see at the table as well, all answered that call and demand by the Zambian people for the formation of UKA. The clear call of the Zambian people is that they do not want a multiplicity of opposition parties, but the selfless coming together of opposition parties. all my colleagues in UKA believe in the principles of the United Kwacha Alliance. Everybody who's here firmly believes in that. If they did not firmly believe in the United Kwacha Alliance, you would not be seeing them here. The United Kwacha Alliance, therefore, clearly meets the demand of the Zambian people that there should be a deliberate working towards formation of a single opposition grouping. That is very clear. You can hear it all over the country. The people are demanding a single opposition grouping. And that is why us in UKA are all holding hands and saying that is our aim, that is our goal. Not a single one of us wants to go against the demand of the Zambian people. So we should therefore not lose sight of the people's demand. Perhaps let's look at what the objectives, some of the objectives of the United Kwacha Alliance are. One of the objectives is to facilitate mobilization of a single candidate for all elections at all different levels, right from ward level right up to presidential level. We also want to create a pool of running mates so that at the appropriate time, even the running mate will be selected. Facilitation of resource mobilization is something that UKA also will be doing on behalf of all the parties. But it is not only the political sides of those. More importantly, the UKA also is there to provide checks and balances on the current government. More importantly, UKA is there to provide hope to the Zambian people. More importantly, UKA is there to tell the Zambian people what our programs are. More importantly, UKA is there to give pledges to the Zambian people, pledges that we will keep, not to give pledges that will turn out to be lies, like the current government. And also, UKA is there in order to ensure that, seeing that there's very few resources in the country and each party does not have massive resources. And because we do not want to be owing to large companies or firms that give us campaign money, because we want to be a free grouping of people. It means that we have to pool our resources together and efficiently utilize them. So all our efforts are concentrated on these objectives. The flag bearer for the UKA is an important issue. There's no doubt about that. And that will also go towards attaining our main goal, provided that we can ensure that the flag bearers will have a cohesive and clear message that they're giving the Zambian people. That is where our concentration is. People may try to divert us from this primary goal. Internally, we may at times appear to have differences. This may be so as it happens in every group. The important thing, however, is not whether you have differences, but as to how you resolve those differences. That is what is important. The wise resolve issues quietly amongst themselves, whilst the unwise think they can resolve differences by shouting from the mountaintop. Proverbs chapter 13 verse 20 says, quote, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." End of quote. Proverbs 2:20 reads, quote, "Thus you will walk in the ways of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous." End of quote. All of us on this podium, without exception, are firmly convinced that the path of the righteous is UKA. I'll repeat that. All of us on this podium, without exception, are firmly convinced that the path of the righteous is UKA. Psalms 1:1 teaches us that, quote, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers." End of quote. Many may mock us, but they are mere sinners that we shall not sit with. All good UKA supporters and members must not sit in the company of mockers. All of us that you see here believe the word set out in Proverbs 12:26, which teaches us that, quote, "The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray." End of quote. I can assure you that as UKA, we shall not be led astray by the wicked and shall be careful in choosing our friends. Some things may be done in secret and plots hatched against us, but we shall, however, not be afraid, because the good word says in Matthew chapter 10, verses 26 to 27, imploring us as follows: "So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is widespread, whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs." End of quote. All of us leading UKA have affirmed our belief in Ephesians 5, verses 11 to 12, proclaiming, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. It is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret." End of quote. We therefore urge all UKA members to obey Psalm 64, verses 2 and 3, which guides, "Hide me from the conspiracy of the wicked, from the plots of evildoers. They sharpen their tongues like swords and aim cruel words like deadly arrows." These verses caution against secretive gatherings that may involve wickedness, evil intentions, or ungodly behavior. They encourage believers to choose righteous company expose darkness, and live with transparency. The Bible offers guidance on dealing with or reforming those who are bad, sinners, or merely gone even slightly astray. Love and compassion is demanded of us. We have to show love and kindness, even to enemies, as stated in Matthew 5, verse 44, and Luke 6, verses 35 and 36. There are no enemies within us, even though those two verses I refer to talk about enemies. Amongst us, there are no enemies. In yesterday's meeting, there were no enemies. So if the Bible says show love and kindness even to your enemies, we must show even greater love and kindness amongst colleagues. The Bible teaches us to confront with gentleness those that may have gone even slightly astray. Address wrongdoing with gentle correction. That's what Galatians 6 verses 1 and 2 and Timothy chapter 2 verses 24 to 26 say. We have to encourage repentance. We have to urge sinners to turn from their ways, as stated in Luke chapter 13 verse 3 and Acts chapter 2 verse 38. We have to set boundaries, as even the Bible tells us to establish boundaries to protect ourselves and others. See Matthew chapter 18 verses 15 to 17 and 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 9 to 13. A clear boundary that has been set in our meeting is that any of us leaders who may have a divergent view or feel a grievance against any one or number of their colleagues must not go to the press, but instead have the matter maturely handled internally behind closed doors. We also have to work towards restoration and help those who have repented to regain their footing. This is what is demanded of us by Galatians chapter 6 verse 1 and 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verses 5 to 8. I can therefore tell you that all the leaders who were seen or alleged to have made some transgressions have shown contrition and repentance and reaffirmed their belief in UKA. I'll repeat that. All of the leaders who were seen to have made some transgressions have shown contrition and repentance and reaffirmed their belief in UKA. We are expected to take the high road and not descend to the low road. It's therefore, this presser therefore is not going to engage into drawing people's names and so forth. The principles is what is important, and us sticking to the high road. That is what is important. More especially since internally in our meeting, those who may have been slightly astray have seen that what was done was wrong, and they have given assurance that going forward we will not be seeing such things happening. In this way, we can model good behavior. We have to demonstrate godly character and behavior as advised by Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 to 16, and 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 15 to 16. We are mindful and always remember to approach all situations with humility, empathy, and dependence on God's guidance. It is in this fashion that we met yesterday to address the unnecessary, very unnecessary distraction that has been in the media. It is for this reason that the details of the frank exchanges that took place yesterday will remain amongst us. And all have pledged that going forward, they will conduct themselves and proceed in this spirit. There have been press queries with regards to who the flag bearer for UKA in the presidential elections will be. All of the presidents, without exception, again yesterday reaffirmed that they were ready to serve under any of their colleagues that will be settled upon. All of the presidents, without exception, reaffirmed that position. As stated in our last presser, the issue of the process by which the presidential candidate shall be selected was tasked to a subcommittee of the Council of Presidents. The subcommittee asked one of its members to put together a proposal that will be presented to the Council of Presidents. That proposal has been put together, but however, Council of Presidents has not yet sat because the Committee of Secretary Generals of the UKA parties stated that they felt they should have also an input as regards to the process. And quite naturally, seeing that we are an all-inclusive party, and as I stated towards the beginning of this presser, none of us can claim to know it all. It is best that we also hear what the Council of Secretary Generals have to say. And hence, they are soon going to be giving us their proposals. This is the democratic way to go about it. This also lends legitimacy to whoever is selected and gets buy-in by all of the stakeholders. We shall keep the public informed as to progress with regards to this process. In the meantime, we shall proceed with informing the Zambian people as to what our plans for them are. Because we cannot just sit back and say, let's wait for the flag bearer and so on. We have that overriding duty and objective, which is to save the Zambian people. One of those pledges is that we are mature. We are a mature set of people who will meet any threatened crisis with critical resolve, focused on getting solutions that will benefit the people and not ourselves. We believe that this early test, which has been brought upon us by the media frenzy you saw the last fortnight or so, is a test we have shown that we can handle, is a test that we have passed with flying colors. We have shown that maturity showing that no matter how difficult a situation is, we are capable of handling it and averting crisis. And the other pledge which we have is that we are going to maintain checks and balances on the current government. We shall ensure that there is rule of law. We shall ensure that everything is done above board in the country by the government. We were therefore shocked yesterday by the President's address to Parliament. And I will ask my sister, President Nawakwi, to address us on that issue.
Your Excellency, our 65th President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, our Chairperson, State Council, Sakwiba Skota, our Vice Chairperson, Madam Kateka, colleagues, our Secretary Generals who are here, good afternoon. I've been given a very difficult task by the Chair to respond to an off-the-cuff comment. But what the mind thinks, so is the position of the person. You cannot just go on the street and say something which is not in your mind. I want you, dear colleagues, to understand that President Hakainde Hichilema yesterday was extremely serious about suspending the Constitution of the Republic. You can't say it any worse than that. Even if he desires to go back to colonial legislation and pull off acts like the Sedition Act, what the President said yesterday in the House, what the President said yesterday before the people of Zambia is an attempt to psych the Zambian people that he is the almighty and all-powerful leader on the continent of Africa who can wake up in the morning and address the nation that God has given to his charge in the House, where everybody pledges that they shall be faithful to the Constitution of the Republic, and attempt to say that the Constitution authorizes him singularly to move the election date from 13th August 2026 to a period 8 or 9 years later than the 5 years of the term of Parliament. We as a people gave to ourselves a constitution of the Republic. And we said that the term of Parliament shall be 5 years. That includes the term of the presidency. Whether he likes it or not, 13th August 2026 is the date, without any hole, without any mistake, without any lacuna, that the people of Zambia gave to themselves at the next election date. But on the African continent, there are some like my brother, my president, Hakainde Hichilema, who, when power is sweet and the chair begins to make them feel that they are glued to it, can wake up and say, I shall suspend the wishes of the people. This country has been through this road before. We recall 2000. Maybe you, my colleagues from the press, you are Gen Zs, so maybe you are still young. But some of us were of age. We were about to be burnt alive. We were about to be killed by bullets from crooks who had been released from remand. We are now at this crossroads where our future is threatened by a suspension of our desired process. And we want to say this to the President, that as the United Kwacha Alliance, we want to inform him that we shall not allow him to do that. You know, we are not going to allow him to do that because we gave him 5 years. Yes. He gave us a 10-point plan. Yes. I'm sure now it's 2 points left. He's not yet about to do that. Among the points plan people gave him was to feed them, was to give them light, was to give them medicine, was to do roads. We gave him, he told us that he was going to do it. We believed him. We never told him that he was to change the constitution single-handedly by a proclamation in the House of the Republic by the third debate. In that debate, my former president and leader was actually saying he wanted something like the French Constitution. You understand? 7 years continuous, that's when you have election. The people of Zambia said 5-year terms. Never again are we going to have anyone changing the constitution to suit their feelings. Exactly. This seems to be the main subject matter that he went to address, and he spent 3 hours. All of a sudden, he departed from his speech. The nation will record that there were a lot of debates, protestations, and contestations towards the enactment of 2016 Constitution. I think you know, we all agreed. In fact, some of us were wondering, some of the honorable members of the House who are now ministers, they were drunk on the floor of that House during the debate on that same constitution. I think you know them. You can go to the Daily Hansard. Jack Mwimbu. Some political parties such as the UPND started to walk out of the legislative process. They were actually part of this document. So I was shocked to hear that he didn't know how it was done, because the 2016 Constitution was done jointly by the ruling party, then Patriotic Front, and UPND, and the other members of the House. So he is squarely responsible. If there's a lacuna, he needs to come out and say, Section 5, subsection 6, clause 5, and refer it to us to debate as a country. Yes. It is not for him to sit at Community House and start dreaming that the chair has become so sweet that he wants to glue himself to the chair. However, when the same constitution they had been demanding was finally given to them on the 5th of January 2016, the UPND members of parliament in the same house where they had been protesting again, protested by walking out that they did not want the same constitution they had been demanding. They had said they wanted the Ernest Mwansa draft document to be tabled. And then when it was tabled, they said, ne, so botatuyand. This was the worst form of disingenuous from leaders. Although the UPND seem to have been playing what they believe to have been politics, it must not be allowed. Politics must not be practiced in a hypocritical manner. No. Politics must be practiced truthfully and responsibly. Yes. In fact, politics should never be played with regard to the Constitution. We have seen our friends on the continent and elsewhere, where people want to shred the constitution, what happens? What follows next is anarchy. Anarchy comes from street, not from the highest seat of the land. I expect anarchy from the street because you are not getting water or you are not eating. But Zambians are peaceful. Zambians know you love your land. You know that 13th August 2026 is decision day. And therefore you are calm. Even if you don't have lights for 5 days, 10 days, you are extremely sober. And I thank you, my dear friends and brothers. I praise you for your resilience because you are a people that loves their land. And we don't want any one of us. We said no in 2000, we are saying no now. Again, the background, every caring citizen must condemn UPND government, and especially President Hakainde Hichilema, with regards to the conduct and the condescending manner with which the Zambian people are being treated and subjected to this debate on the Constitution. Our 6th Republican president actually at some point said, these people want to amend the Constitution. Who was the first one to rebuff that? Himself. But why should you start the fight again? The Zambian Constitution is a very important document which is enacted by the Zambian people for themselves. As is stated in the preamble, you can even know when you open the preamble, it says, we the people. It doesn't say the president. It says, we the people. It can therefore not be subjected to cheap, dangerous, and productive politics in the people's house. There is no way a president can change the Constitution. If he wants to change the Constitution, we will change him, as we have agreed. If President Hakainde Hichilema thinks that he can now start preparing the people's mind to a possibility of postponement, we now understand. He cannot even play gymnastics or mingarato. We have understood his statement that he wants to prolong the election from 5 years to 13 years. 5 plus 8 is 13. You understand that? 5 plus 9 is 14. He wants to be in office illegally for 14 years. For 14 years of darkness, 14 years of hunger, 14 years of exporting your maize to other countries while you're suffering. To the president, we wish to categorically say, step back, my brother, from such irresponsible and unconstitutional thought. My president who have lost legitimacy, of presidents who have lost legitimacy to seek refuge in tampering with the Constitution. Zambia fought the late President Chiluba when he attempted to do exactly what you are trying to do. There was a third term. There was a third term, and the people were not hungry. The economy was doing extremely well. There was power. There was everything. There was dollars in the banks. And the people are moving freely. And the President Chiluba never unearthed the colonial legislation of seditious practices and espionage, which were used in the colonial days. But even without doing that, we still stopped him in his tracks. We shall fight. The people will fight. The country will fight. We shall not allow you to stay beyond 13th August 2026. Mr. President, you are personally not happy with certain clauses in the Constitution. And we know where there are many, which we urge you, if you really want, to come out clearly. And coming out clearly is about negotiation. But one of the clauses you can't negotiate is the 50+1. 50+1 is non-negotiable. 50+1 allows us not to have minority presidency. It's started from when we had our late President Mwanawasa, 28% of the votes, and then he's president. And people said to themselves, 50 plus 1. Yes. And look, be honorable like our 60th president. Yes. He should have been the one resisting putting 50 plus 1. Yes. But he said, so be it. The people want it. That is honor. So please don't tamper with that. There's no mistake, there's no hole, there's no lacuna. We are a peaceful nation. We love to wake up. Even amongst us, even if poverty hits us to the core, we love to wake up knowing that I can walk on the street. There will be no stones on the street. People are peaceful. They are waiting for things which are set in their documents. We always love debate as a people, and that's why we debated the third term. The UKA, the Zambian people, and UKA's message is that we should not relent on our responsibility to improve our people's welfare by constantly making ourselves laws of our land that provide protection for individual rights, provide their ways of resolving disputes between citizens. There are issues here in our land which we should address in our constitution, like foreigners getting huge tracts of land under the so-called exploration rights, like Zambians who want to do artisanal mining, who have to go to foreigners from Canada to seek for permission to have artisanal licenses. Those are the issues we need to discuss as a people. How do we secure the resources for ourselves and our children? As it is now, Zambia is just being said to be a net exporter of raw materials. That's why you hear the Lobito Banguera route. It's just exporting. But what is our role? We have gold. Who is taking our gold? Who is taking our emeralds? These are the issues that we should be addressing, and I would be very pleased to go to community house to share ideas on how we should empower ourselves as a people. Yes. But when you talk of annihilating and shredding our constitution, I cannot come to community house. If anything, Mr. President, the lacunas you should be talking about addressing in our constitution are with regard to excessive presidential powers. Yes. It is because he has excessive presidential powers that even the people in the judiciary are scared. People in the executive are scared. He is the all and mighty, the only one. So we in UKA are not scared of reducing the presidential powers, because we want a president who obeys the people. Yes. And obeys the constitution. Yes. So we don't want a president who wakes up and says, tomorrow I shall sell the challenge. Tomorrow I shall sell State House. Tomorrow I shall sell Mopani to my friends. We want a person who can be checked by the Constitution. Yes. I can tell you, friends, that on earth there is no one whom you should believe in their benevolent behavior. That's why even in the Bible, as my elder brother was saying, even in the Bible, there were rules. I always tell people that if it were not written that Jesus shall die, in the Garden of Gethsemane, what did he do? He says, my Father, can you let this cup pass? That is at the lowest ebb of a human being. Yes. But it was written that the Son of Man shall be crucified. Yes. It was written. That's a constitution. That's the best constitution on earth is the Bible. Yes. And I urge my brother to read that and be able to understand that power comes from God. It does not come from where you are seated. Exactly. So we need to curb the excesses of the presidency so that we can secure our national assets. Yes. UKA has no reason or qualms about reducing presidential powers, because it is not about the president but about all of us, today and in the future. Yes. Long live the Republic of Zambia. Long live our constitution. Long live the people of Zambia. And we urge you, in poverty, in sorrow, please keep the peace.
Just waiting for more, the presentations came to an end. I wish we could actually ask for another round of presentations from our leaders. We've come to that point where it's now your part to also give us what you came prepared with, and at the same time what perhaps you've generated while listening to the presentations here. But while you are preparing to ask the questions, may I take this opportunity to recognize, in addition to the representatives from the leaders who have not been able to be with us, we have there at the end Mr. Labson Kamufisa, representing the Christian Democratic Party under President Pule. Just wave at the crowd. And I have here Mr. Vincent Chintu, who is the Secretary General of Citizens First, representing President Kalaba, who has an engagement on the Copper Belt. And I have here Mr. Robson Kamufis, Mr. Kwangu Mukupa, representing President Savoy under the NDC, who has just been taken ill. And I wish to recognize the presence of leaders from our other structures. Our chair for the youth here. All right. I won't give him an opportunity to speak because then he will steal the show. You know, Gen Z. I have our two lovely ladies there. Nams Namakau and Nachilima, and also our deputy chairperson for the women's group, Madam Adora Piri, who has traveled to be with us from Kawe. And on my left, in the event that one day I'm unable to play this role for some reason, you will now see a familiar face in the name of Madam Mumbipiri, Honorable Mumbipiri, who is not a stranger to you. Yes, Honorable Mumbipiri was a few weeks ago appointed by the COP as the Deputy Secretary General of UKA, and she's attending this occasion for the first time, and it is just correct that she probably says hello to you so that you get to know her again in this role. Madam Mumbipiri, great today.
Zaimirira kuno mwauka bwanji monse mwaimvera voice ya kujere kutichoka. I recognize the presence of the 6th President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa. I recognize the presence of the Chairman of UKA, Honorable Sakwiba Sukota. I recognize the presence of our mother, Honorable Edith Nawakwi. For those who don't know, she was our first finance minister. Allow me also to recognize the presidents who are here, Madam Chalakateka, Sean Tembo, and then the Secretary Generals from Citizen First and the others. And allow me also to recognize the presence of my Secretary General, Honorable Lucky Mulosa. My name's Mumbipiri Banakulutaza. Please, SG, allow me, because I was listening to her attentively. What happened in Parliament, as she was saying, yesterday was supposed to be a solemn time. And if some of you, especially the media, if you remember very well, Honorable Mutotwe Kafwaya was chased out of Parliament for dressing up Muchilundu. What happened yesterday? It's unprecedented. And I'm not claiming that Hakainde Hichilema is my son. He said it himself. He's my blood son-in-law. He said it himself. It's unprecedented. The things we are seeing are happening for the first time, where we saw members of parliament dress in the traditional dress for our cousins now, Western Province, Siziba, dancing on the floor of the house. Why were they not chased? Is it selective judgment of the speaker? Madam Speaker, Madam Nelly Muti, please answer to that. Because we saw you chasing Mutotwe Kafwaya, Pantwadi Fuede Chulundu. Secondly, the president spoke about fair justice to the people of Zambia. As I stand here, I'm a woman who was a suspect in a murder case. I stayed in prison for 105 days, 6 hours in Mongu prison until I went through the due process of the law. My son, why haven't you arrested the suspect in JJ's adoption case? Are you sure that your mouth, what you say, matches with the brain? I remember me as your mother. Are you a lacuna yourself? And as President Nawapi said, the things we are seeing, they are not matching. How can you come from nowhere? You think you can just come to the people of Zambia and tell them what you think? We are not your children like Chwela Tukuta, whom you record, and I'm speaking as a former diplomat. You record Chwela Tukuta from Brazil. What the diplomatic service requires is for somebody, when you are recorded, like the way I was recorded, it's in the diplomatic book. You have to stay there for 3 months. What crime did Chwela Tukuta commit for him to come within a week? We have seen on his Facebook page, he's always posting. Why haven't you given him his gratuity? So you think you can go to parliament and tell us that, maybe I'll be here for 8-9 years. You're joking. And I'm talking to you as your mother, whom you sent, your government sent the police to come and arrest me in the presence of your own children. One day mukakumana kubwengwa. Bare damba. You're not, these are Zambians. There was Kaunda before. Kumulu, Lesa, Bashi Kaunda. He was removed. Who are you? You think that glue you have put, and you're spoiling our children. As a president, you're talking. Is that normal? And next, you're going to address the nation on morals and principles when you are breaking the same laws. You have no etiquette to even address the people. Me as your mother, I'm so ashamed, but I'll be in the forefront to stop you to be in office for 8 or 9 years, which you are dreaming about. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that maiden speech. At least the next time she will play this role, you should not have to introduce herself like I initially said. It's now your time for questions. Who is going first? Yes.
Yes.
Your name, and if you are coming from any media house or wherever you're coming from, please.
My name is UKA Real. I don't come from, I come from the Zambian youth. I'm a very concerned citizen. Mine is the President, Your Excellencies. Please, 2026, if any of you, with what we are seeing on the media, the divisions that we are seeing, especially in UKA, UKA has come as a hope for a better Zambia come 2026. But if all of you decide to have your own individual agendas being feathered above the national agenda, trust me, we are not going anywhere. Whatever you're doing here, you're wasting your time. It's better you go back to your homes, enjoy with your families. But otherwise, if you really want to save the Zambian people, starting from now onwards, think of what will unite us. The best we can ever have in this country at this particular juncture, it is the unity of purpose and ensuring that we have a cocktail of great brains. And there's no society that have no people that have not been to school. There's no society that have people who cannot actually articulate or think the way other people would probably get to be considered as an upright way of thinking. It is just the blend that we need, an appreciation of all different individuals, and you, the presidents that we have here, if at all you'd be able to even think as you make your decisions, include at least one of the youths to be always present, so that whatever you are endorsing or whatever you are agreeing on, it is something that is also going to have the voice of young people. Otherwise, truth be told, without the representation of any of the youth, in whatever they said, there is nothing for the youths without the youth. If at all you think coming 2026, most of the people who are going to vote are older people. The people that have been changing governments from time immemorial are young people. Yes. But if young people are not given a voice, and women, of course. But if young people, at least among young people, even women are there. If young people are not given an opportunity to air their grievances, to at least speak their mind, trust me, whatever you'll be doing, it will not be representative of the future we desire. But if you really want to have a manifesto that is going to speak to a future young people desire, at least each and every time you sit to make national decisions that are going to improve Zambia in 2026, let a young person be there at least to air, even if it will be a mild idea. You are there to correct and guide that particular young person. You cannot decide the future of the youth without the presence of any. Otherwise, I wish you all the best in everything you do.
Thank you very much for that contribution and reminder about the inclusion. We actually have that intergenerational mix in UKA, and the chair will speak to it. Anybody else? Chair, maybe you can comment on that as well.
No one else. Thank you very much for your contribution, observations. It was not a question, but a very, very good piece of advice to us. You started off by saying that there should be no individual agendas. Indeed, that is what the Zambian people have been demanding, and that is what led to the formation of UKA. Like I stated in my address, we are all working towards ensuring that we do not have a multiplicity of parties or multiplicity of organizations that the Zambian people will be looking at, because that would lead to confusion. So we are actively working towards meeting that demand by the Zambian people, and I can assure you that that is the resolve of us here. All of us here have got that resolve because the people have demanded that. We all realize, like you say, that if any one of us decides to go out on our own, that you will no longer have faith in us. If we do anything that goes against this unification and coming together that UKA is doing, that you will not be with us. We recognize that. And being wise, we would not go against such advice. With regards to the youth, we do have a very active president, even though he was not put at the high table here. We've got a Comboni president, and who is very, very active, and who is putting together the youths and bringing them to us. The number of youth groupings that he has organized and is formalizing is really phenomenal. The work he has done. You may not see it from out there, but us who supervise him see it. And we've also seen that the Zambian youths are very, very innovative, are very, very politically aware. You have, for example, the Gen Z group of people, those who are dealing with ZESCO and so on. The bravery of those youths is something which all of us here are really looking at. And rather than us inspiring the youths, those young people in Gen Z are inspiring us. That's how good those people are. That's how brave they are. 2 weeks in prison for merely holding up a placard, merely holding up a placard. And this president he had about 3 or 4 lines in terms of good governance yesterday. About 3 or 4 lines. Look at his address, where he was claiming that they're doing very well in terms of human rights and so forth. Why didn't he tell us why 3 young people who merely stood up with a piece of paper had to be locked up for 2 weeks? We are with them. We are in support of them. They are inspiring us, like I said. I hope that we also, in return, can inspire them. But we shall work together with the youths. Thank you.
Any other? All right, because the contribution was, oh yes?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abaton Chujalawina.
From?
Last meeting, I think I posed a certain question that I wasn't also satisfied, and now it was responded. I'll come on the same question on the president's, because we've been on the ground, and on the ground, the only thing is I mentioned in the previous meeting that we had to say Zambians have gone to heavy comparisons, and they've compared to say this regime and the previous regime, the only mistake that was there was the issue of catalysis. And that is the only fear on the ground there when you go on the ground. Now my point is, I wanted the president himself, the former president, to respond to that question because it will carry weight on the Zambian people outside there who are waiting to hear. Because when they see the president seated among the UKA team, whatever comes in, because they've said to say, you've done the work, you did correct things, and the correct things were done. So the only challenge was catalysis. I just want an emphasis and an assurance coming from the 6th Republican president to respond to the catalysis, because 2026, Wamdala Balefia. That's it. So, Mr. President, you've responded questions on international media houses. I just want you yourself to respond to my question, because that is what is on the ground outside there. Thank you very much.
I will request that His Excellency, the 6th Republican President, directly answers you. He has told us what the position is and we understand, but in order to satisfy you, I'll ask him to directly respond.
Thank you so much for that question. The first thing I can tell you, fellow Zambians, is that I'm not incorrigible. I'm not incorrigible. This simply means that I can be corrected. And for me, with this new team you see in UKA, it's an opportunity to correct the wrongs that happened under my watch when I was president. You see, she wasn't part of government. He wasn't part of government. All these people on my left were not part of government. On my right, they're not part of government. So it is a different concept altogether. Yes. And I said it elsewhere, and I will say it again at the expense of monotony, that I'll have to learn from those who are criticizing us, and I also have a chance to tell them, those who be leading, that this is where we went wrong as PF. So I have the benefit of the old and the new. So I can tell you that the issue of cadreism is one of the items identified as needing immediate attention in the new government from 2026 onwards. And I think I was standing there to say, you can't do this because this is what brought PF down. Yeah, you have been saying So give me a chance to work with this team, and I can assure you that it will be better. Beyond that, I can't promise anything more, but I can assure you that all these people you see here mean well. And if I was to come back at the helm or as a member of the new team, I can always remind my friends that this is how we lost it. And I think I can even go further and tell you that the majority of the people who have inspired me to think of coming back are those who worked with UPND and supported HH. And they're telling me that we told him not to do this, but look at him, he's doing it. And I told them, I said, the power there is very tempting, man. so you really need to be alert all the time that this is what we promised the people. And I, for one, can tell you that I know what brought us down. Apart from cadreism, some of these things were happening because I thought everyone was with us on the same page in terms of influencing and effecting policy, but not all. But this time around, we'll do better. Unless you want more experiments, guys.
Brilliantly.
No, thank you very much.
There was no lacuna.
Gen Z, thank you very much for that courage to bring His Excellency out of, I hope the English is good, out of his cocoon. Out of the lacuna. Out of the lacuna. To address us. Before we come to a close, I just want the youth chairman to just encourage you on some of the activities that I see are falling behind that we started previously.
Hearing what you are whispering.
Yeah.
The former
Over here.
in between, so that he grace from this side and this side. Blessing me. The former president, the chairman of UKA, the former president, the chairman of UKA, the presidents available, the SG, the media, and all the youths who are here. As I stand here, Thomas Spalo, Comboni President, Chairman of the United Kwacha Alliance Youth Department. I would like to encourage you to say, ngani ya Black Friday, chifuka wajana longewa osayopa, tieni pitilize ijangani. Because one of the characteristics of a democratic state is people expressing themselves. We need to express ourselves, but let's make sure that we are within the confines of the law. Let's not break the law. If you are not happy and you express yourself, wafunsa, even if you ask government, because you know these guys when they came in power, when they were proposing Zambians that they want to come in power, they promised us a lot of things. They said that fuel is going to cheap. ya chipapo fuel. Milumi was going to be cheap. What chipapo unga? Ni vambiri. Even load shedding, actually the president is on record to have said that what was lacking then was leadership. Leadership yenze pwenze beskopo. In Dubai kulibiretu oloka drop kamvula malaiti yankalako. Maezi na maezi. But malaiti kulibe road shedding. What is happening in Zambia? Kuli road shedding. What is he saying? Even yesterday when he was in parliament, I for one, I expected him to tackle critical issues. The issue of hunger. Hapa kulinjala makombo ni wenangu watu panga ma duty yokudia. Watu okudia wenangu ngati pa family wali 10 wali 5 wakati yako lunch wenangu wali 5 azadi ya sapa. Wenangu nchi wali off. Vintu vafika poi pa makomboni. And yet the president went to that side instead of addressing important issues vamine wantu wafuna mvera vamalaiti. Market mwambiri 3/4 wajawai na mabucha wanataya nyama siwagulisa. Ulova wafika poipa because of electricity. Instead of the president concentrating on electricity na enjalamenti inayo, he was talking about motoka. Ya wene naenda kula busa. Sidia hivyo pantauzi notilibe na vona nshito. Chamenti funa chakutu wantuosa oka makombo ni wazidia. Wantu tizinkala na malaiti. Stinga kwani 7 vamene wenzo kondema tikafunsako futi watirongi. Nishitila kwa chani na hii hatichani sedition. Na ya mene yolo mwandi zati futisa hii. Ukafunza chabe a president wife because the president went from radio station to radio station telling the nation to say no, the reason why fuel is expensive because the PF pakati hapa hapa yakawala alau yakadiamo kutifike kumwamba, that's why ili hapa. Hapa kulibe odi hapo no middleman. Why do so? Who is the middleman? Are we going to be wrong to suspect that the same is the same? Because you see, sometimes let's be honest. In whatever we are doing, tonse tiripano, wrong decisions affect us. There's nothing like, no, because you support the government in power, unga uzambo gula ko chipa. No. Then another thing, they've come up with an idea of at food for work. That's donor aid. Inabwera ija aid chifukwa naona kuti Zambia leadership munotilipe maningi scope njala tingenera tagulisa vanteze navo vatileterako. Vantu osauka maningi kazitenga nkoni uyunga. But the problem that I'm seeing is that good idea has been politicized. Kuma kombo ni tizibana, we know to say uyu nwachipanichi, uyu nwachipanichi, uyu nwachipanichi. Wakaziva ati ndi wakuchipani chamene supporta boma kambiri ja food for work supeze kapo pa achani. Pa list paja suza seven zako. Is it supposed to be like that? No. Nishi wajama kansi pano unafika ujaunga uzofunika sembo wanaofa kwa secretariat kwao so that aziba tuwabwirira chipani. They need to differentiate between government and politics. When those donors donate, they donate to the Republic of Zambia, in which all of us we are stakeholders. Tonse nfema Zambia so makamba now iwachipani awandiwa Zamba kudia kulibe. So every Friday, ya Gen Z, tisayope, tisaleme, tiende nayo. Ngani yo wakumbusa pama promises ya mene wanapanga. Let's not fear. Simulandu. Wazambo tironga 2-3 days tichoka futi, tikamba futi. Because it's tipanga mulandu. So, osayopa, osaleme. Osatachani? Tizamba kungo kamba, ndizamba kungo kumbusa. 2026. These guys have to go. Latina kwa paka. Hapa sopa nopameni kamba. Wanaita emergency tikapena wanaficho tufaka market. Ijadeni napita hapo kupeza sivoko rikitika. Na TV using a Bluetooth TV olo branch of emergency TV. Then ukalangana ja emergency footing ya kulu. Yes, we are in a crisis right now. We need power at all cost. But ya emergency ya jana bweraja, they need diesel. They didn't explain to the Zambians who is going to be buying diesel of emergency TV. Ndawa chimozi chija, mudeche chikalira kapena maozi angati. Chifunika kapena ni 8 pin, 9 pin. From the market is it, wazamba kusonkesa oroboma izambo fakamu. Then chintu china again, who is going to be servicing the emergency? Is it the government or the markets? Chintu china futi in terms of security. Vantu waina njala pa chili chonse ni sampo. Nindana zambo chironda vija emergency. They didn't explain. And to me now, I'm beginning to suspect to say, these guys are buying time. Simunga rete jense tumafaka pa market, no icha connect. Waona utapa ni pa 14, September, October mvula yamba, waoneka tishinga mbata. Wafuna mpaka mvula manzi mkaliba tebwanji, ya bwere ya jama jenseti zaka unachabiamba kusoba. As, nakaniboza, hawa wantu siwajairika. Hawa wantu siwajairika. Then another thing, you know, a good government is supposed to think for the future. This issue of being reactive of Intufikachitika should come to an end. That's the reason why as UKA ifetikabwera mpower, za make sure mwamene zakambira former president, yenze ma mistakes aja kudala zanka cheni ma revision kuyakonza bwino kuti vintu vinkale bwino. It takes somebody wamene achoka kwa mene uyenda kuza kuti road person yonongeka. The president has been there. He will tell us zachita so. Apa so tikamba. Kaliba ili wakamba timulibe manzi, malaiti siabwera. Okay fine, Stephen Oshana now. What if futi next year ngatukuzangala mvula? What happens? Because we are just waiting for the rains to come. Manja mulungu katana maplani yake nae, plus global warming, mvula sina bwere. What will remain of us as Zambians? This is what leadership are supposed to be discussing. The president is supposed to call a team of engineers, electoral engineers, kuwafaka pansi, kuwaza bwino, tizanga inda bwanji 3, 4, 5 years. Manja oneka leadership ilipo. Skopo yaka ena nikisi. Mukalangana, mwachapino kama vama compensations. According to the law ya Mzambia, vanizi wakuchoka paenda badira paliko wa law ya pa wanganiuze, na Sean Tembo wanganiuze. Ine vanizi wanole kudala. In simplicity wa makomboni. Waka kuchosa ukaenda kamba kuti achoka panole. Ndiye kuti wakuchosa but mlandu sunasire. Kukabwela vanyu voka bauti ni wameno wale mnachosa enza anaba wanga kukwile futi no kubweza. Bati vamvi chitika hapa vamvi ndabwisa. Mundu amchosa panole wakuti mlandu ukabwele futi. Umvela tatenga 5 million. Uya pite umvela 6.4 million. Manje mirandu zikakabwela futi kakapezeka uja muntu anapanga zona mirandu. Zandalama ndana zabweza. We've got people wamene wanankala mu prison wambiri. An example is our mother there, Mumbipiri. Na iwe maezi yanga? 6 months. Kairi iwone kamonga na njala ilipo ayi. Muzambia manje vintu vapala na vanole. Ni bwino wonse wanachoka pa manole nao wasuwinge wadieko. Because there is no way watenga chabe ndalama fole sana weka. Nishiwamu UPND weka. Ndiyo amenenzo mvera prison kubaba. Aba wena angwaba, they can't sue kutuwa diendrama. Ijala mulamene wanapanga manje, the precedent which they've set, believe you me, is going to haunt us for a very long time. Because what they are doing is criminality. Let's respect the judiciary. Let's not interfere mulima judges, ma judgment ya merewa panga. Let's not interfere ku parliament. Let legislature be independent. Let judiciary na inkale independent. Executive isazingena mungani ya ku judiciary. Ndiye pantipangira mistake. Vokamba, nina vambiri ndandi no kuia pano nikamba so, malaiti ezi abueche ya pajinga yaenda. So vokamba vambiri, nilibe bavanza kuzani ma youth, niyakuti chino chalo nchatu. Ndife wamene tiri na future. Zambiri midala wena ngwa not pangira ma decision yawa, wanatia kudala manapsa yao. Tiri kondife. So the wrong decision that they are making, if we are not talking, it's us to suffer. So let's work together. Zambian youth alionse auke. Zambian youth atebwanji. Auke. Jeni ti uke tenti pushinge kutia wantu wale tanjala wachokepo 2026 kuya wewele.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, and my sincere apologies for not introducing you correctly. I'm reliably informed he's the Common President State Council. No, thank you very much. He's not even that short. I wonder why he's climbing the stairs. All right. If there's no more questions, and I'm sure this is a weekend, people are committed with other events. I will call upon Nachilima to give us a closing prayer, and thereafter the national anthem. Sorry, Namakao.
The names are the same.
Shall we bow our heads and pray?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we just want to thank you for this occasion. We thank you for all the leadership that you've given us in UKA. We thank you for their humility and their ability to come together as one. This is the same spirit, Jehovah God, we are depending upon, that it shall engulf the entire Zambia.